Hi, my name is David Brager, and I'm a white hat computer hacker from back in the 70s with punch cards and paper tape and reams of printouts. It wasn't the wham bam thank you ma'am bullshit of today. Now, in 2005, in the midst of my MBA studies, I found a puzzle in the Gospel of Matthew written by an Einstein who sees a problem coming at the whole world and sent help the only way he could, as well as two quests. And the reason he did this is because the Torah turned out to be a game. It's computer game design as we do it today. To get a message thousands of years into the future intact, it had to be encrypted so nobody would actually know what we're carrying. It had to be enslaving so nobody would drop it. It had to be deceptive so it did not deliver what was promised. And finally, it had to be rejected so that in that rejection, you then get to discover how the original document was designed and what its purpose is. But by being written from right to left, when you stand it perpendicular between your legs, in theory, and running its actual course from where the writing actually began to where the writing actually ended, you find that this thing was written from the base of Sinai to manna, revealing 6 books, not 5. Now this reads like Dungeons & Dragons. We have 4 books of rules, half of Exodus, Leviticus, Numbers, and Deuteronomy. We have the game player's guide, Genesis, which gives you the background on the game. And then we have the game through the lives of 3 distinctly different Moses. The one that's fished out of the Nile, the one that divides the Red Sea, and the one that unites the Red Sea. Now, the reason why all of this is critical is that King David, for whom I am named, adulterated with Bathsheba, scapegoated her husband who died, with 2 commandments and 8 rules. If everybody on the planet used only this for communication, nobody has to talk to each other. The Babel was the wrong choice. Not the bad choice, but the wrong choice. In fact, everything in the Torah is the wrong choice, so when you reject it back to empty hands, it then paints all the right answers deep in your mind where they were never written down. No books, no burdens, no leadership, no tithing, no allowance for slavery, increases intellect, decreases chaos, leaves peace in your way, protects your children, is simple, and is fun. Remember, Abraham, Isaac, and Jacob didn't have a Torah. Why are we carrying a Torah? Somebody had to carry the big trap for George Bush and the Burning Bush family. They were so goddamn wicked they needed a special trap. And Judaism got duped into carrying the big trap of the burning bush. So now I get to teach how to write a Torah, and why the fucking hell would anybody want to do that? But if you have to protect an entire planet and teach all the people on the planet all their innate abilities, if the wicked actually knew that if 2 or more are gathered and they get together and do hypnosis, they get access to a collective and get all the knowledge that they want, there are no secrets, they could have destroyed the world by now, but they didn't know because they took it from the other aspect. They couldn't get access themselves as individuals, so they systematically erased their path through a series of decisions. The first one is they made cannabis illegal the same day they made their opium illegal. They're moving opium through hospitals and war zones on all sides. Now the farmers in Afghanistan are innocent, and if you truly believe that there was ever a drug war in the United States, then prior to the war in Afghanistan, and I might make this very, very clear to the Marine Corps, I am strictly stating that prior to the war in Afghanistan and prior to 9/11, Osama bin Laden was actually the United States' greatest ally in the war against opium because he managed to get almost all the opium completely out of Afghanistan. Now, there are some anomalies with 9/11 that the FBI completely overlooked because they were steered around the data. The corruption in this government is horrible. But nobody knew from the end of the age today back to Sermon on the Mount is a time map, as those events that happened last to the first you see as you go backwards in space-time. We've been looking at time wrong because we're using days when there's actually the now, the now, the now, the now, the now. So, let me show you the tools I'm using. I decode this from a 42-point puzzle in the Gospel of Matthew. To make this next decision, will I or anyone ever label from left index to right across the palms: lie, scapegoat, dishonor, torture, steal, overwork, adulterate, or kill? If the answer is no, I go to the next decision and I never have to remember it. What are the elderly suffering from? They can't remember what just happened. They weren't supposed to. There's a collective. Whenever 2 or more are gathered, if you run hypnosis session for someone and take a list of questions that they gave you, and ask them to the subconscious then asks the collective then downloads the right answers deep in your mind where they were never written down. This material dimension is chaos-based. To protect the data is order-based, and so it downloads into the mind. Like the Matrix. Hey! But now you have to learn about how remote viewing works. Take a piece of paper and draw a line across the front closest to you while setting in landscape format, like a what do they call it? On a table. So you draw a line across the front, placemat, there we go, across the front, and to the left, let's see, to your left, write down 3,000 years in the past, and to the right, write down the future. And then flip this over, and then draw another line across the front so that in your mind you have parallel lines, but you can't see one of them, but you know it's there because you put it there. And in the middle of that line, put a dot. And that's where your mind is in 6 dimensions, looking at a corridor of space-time in 3 dimensions through a matrix we didn't know was here. Now lay down all the books and stories and movies and everything you know that are either fiction or fantasy in the same corridor. Fact will run the actual length of time of a person's life, but fiction can run the whole gambit. If you see something in 3 different movies that looks like a nightmare heading at your world right now, figure out who can rebuild the barrier between fantasy and reality, and send this video and all my tools. If you go to tinyurl.com/whitehat, the number 1, whitehat 2a, whitehat 3, whitehat 4, whitehat 5, whitehat 6, whitehat 7, actually whitehat 7 doesn't work, whitehat 8, I don't know if I put a whitehat 9 and whitehat 10. I need computer hackers. Get your best people. It's not hypnosis, humans, or cyborg. To make this next decision, will my mind ever let my body? If you do not lie, then you respect from this moment in the most immediate now, forward into the future. You protect it from fictions. You're keeping fictions in your mind. If you do not scapegoat, well, it's nice that you're not lying about other people. The greater lesson is you learn from every mistake backwards in space-time. So these are building a stronger foundation between you and your past. If you do not dishonor, you respect the peace you keep with the people you travel as you move forward through space-time. If you do not torture, you respect the wake you leave behind you in space-time. But these are all forward and back, and all of them on what is your left hand. Now, if you do not steal, you respect the burdens that other people place on themselves before they arrive as you intercept with them. If you do not overwork, you respect the burdens that you add to them as they leave, as they intercept with you. If you do not adulterate, you respect the rights of others to making ancestry move naturally forward into the future. And if you do not kill, you respect the rights of adding history naturally forward to the past. Notice how these are paired. This is not 2 letters in the Hebrew alphabet. This is its entire language. So when you flip someone off, if everybody on the planet has the same signaling system, everybody knows what the problem is. No rule book, no leadership. Just you and your Marine Corps. The streets of heaven are patrolled by Marines. This is behave of the grave. No prisons, no taxes. Had this arrived, there would be no Jews. There wouldn't be Jews, but the promised land is world peace, not Palestine. New world order just got trumped by old world mistake. If you don't let a Jew take full responsibility for the fuck-up of leaving a game out in public, the world will never have peace. So Jesus and Christ are titles. Jesus is the Greek word for the Hebrew word anointed one, and Christ is the Greek word for the Hebrew word Messiah. For the Greek Senate to judge all my work, on the 18th of December 2007, I sent a fax to the Greek embassy and asked them to begin judgment of my work. And then I found it was Mount Arafat Day, which all of Islam foretold that a great judgment would begin. So then I sent another fax denoting this moment. From that moment on, anytime anyone's been pissed at the United States, I've been sending these tools out to everyone I can find. I pointed to the Marine Corps, no idea, revealed a double cross, and people back down. So I'm asking everybody on the planet to tell Greece whatever you feel and ask them to consider reaffirming their original decision that this man truly was an anointed Messiah and that he did right by everyone. Because the terror meters went red, the Russians were screaming their heads off, and I sent the stuff as Aquarius, last prophet for Judaism, to the Russian embassy and pointed to the Marine Corps, no idea they carried these tools, and revealed a double cross and said, please stop.